Welcome to another video. So it's actually been almost a week since I last filmed, which is just not like me at all because I've gotten into a really great habit of filming like about 2 to 4 times a week. I've definitely fallen behind on my schedule, but what happened was I had an incident where it was almost an emergency because Matcha had some really serious urinary troubles, and you know how if anybody has had experience with cats or dogs even, you know how quickly those situations can escalate. Thankfully that didn't happen, but I definitely did not get much rest because I was constantly on the watch, just monitoring her condition, seeing if it was going to become an emergency. Now, it's very uncommon for female cats to have urinary emergencies, but they can happen. So there's definitely, for me, I was like, I don't care if it's a male or female cat, if they're having urinary problems, I'm being vigilant. I am literally locking myself in the bedroom with them. I'm monitoring every time they urinate. Like, it was a whole ordeal. And by the time we finally got her to the vet, she didn't have an infection, she didn't have crystals, which it's a good thing, but that means that it was just, she just stressed herself out, she got anxious, and it made her urinary tract become inflamed. So that's a lot harder to fix because it basically means Matcha has anxiety, like me. And that's not as easy to fix. So I've been spending a lot of time trying to see what kind of changes I can make to the house, to her lifestyle, to her routine, to my routine. Litter boxes, I've been seeing what I can do to try and make her feel better, and I'm just kind of seeing how she responds to each thing. So that's what's been occupying my time. So I'm sure you guys understand, especially for those who have had cats. So I'm really trying to focus on getting through my backlog because I'm trying to not buy so much stuff. It's just, you know, I need to be careful. So today I'm going to use the rest of what was in my Sephora haul. So primarily the Givenchy matte foundation, which I actually haven't shown on camera yet. And then I was thinking for eyeshadow, I might just go through one of my indie palettes and just use that I haven't used yet, so that I can, you know, feature it and at least be like, yeah, here on camera I used it, and kind of just get that out of the way. Or older palette, or just anything that's on my queue that I haven't done yet, because I have a lot of palettes I was supposed to film with that I never ended up filming with. So let's get started. So to start off with, I'm gonna use my Smashbox Photo Finish Hydrating Primer. This is, of course, as I've said before, the mini. Now, I didn't really have like the best review on this because I felt like it wasn't hydrating enough, but it's become humid here in the south, and so now a lightweight primer like this kind of starts to become more and more ideal for my situation where I need hydration, but I can't just turn my face into an oil slick. Now it is about 8:15 at night when I'm filming this because I had to take Buster to the vet today for a follow-up. He's doing fine, it just was a follow-up from when he had an ear infection. So at this point in time, my face is kind of sweaty and it's the end of the day. So I'm gonna use this less hydrating but still hydrating primer with a lighter consistency. It's very watery, so that I don't turn myself into an oil slick by the time this video finishes filming. I've mentioned before I don't really run the AC too hard around here, so. And then I'm going to go in with the under eye primer of choice, which is from JACLYN Cosmetics. I do have to give it a good shake so that I don't pump out like separated product. And even then I feel like it's kind of starting to change a little bit, so I almost wonder if I should just throw this out and get a new one, but I don't want to because I think it's less than a year old. Admittedly, when I first got it, I wasn't using it as consistently as I do now, so whenever I do finally replace it, I will probably actually finally manage to go through the whole thing because I've really managed to kind of secure the habit of using it a lot more often than I used to, which was definitely not often enough. So I think if I got it again, I would actually run through a whole thing. But it's so good, and there's like just no alternative for me. So, and then I'm trying to get into the habit of color correcting. So first off, for my T-zone, I'm gonna use this POREfessional Pearl Primer. It's discontinued now. I literally only got it because it was being discontinued, and then it was discounted on Belk. But after using it, I realized how much I missed the hydrating one because this definitely feels distinctly drier than the hydrating one, and it also makes me really interested in trying out the light one. So I'm definitely gonna try and row those. Maybe I was hoping they would go half off for 21 Days of Beauty. Hope they go half off sometime. And now I'm going to use the Smashbox Becca Under Eye Corrector. Is technically like from Smashbox, but it's mostly from Becca. And I've actually been really enjoying using concealer with like a fluffier brush, like color corrector with a fluffier brush, so that I apply a more sheer layer. So as you can see, I'm just putting on like a little bit. And I know some people use this over foundation, but I prefer to use this before I put on any foundation, which is why I don't use it as often as I should, because I'll just by habit go straight into foundation, and then I'll be like, oh, I forgot to use my color corrector. So I'm trying to get back in the habit of using color corrector more often. And if I just use a soft fluffy brush, I'm able to apply a very thin layer, and you can kind of see how that just, it doesn't cover up anything, especially if I look down. It just does a little bit of the work for me, so I don't have to put on as much concealer later. And now I'm going to use the Givenchy Prism Libre Skin Caring Matte Foundation. This is the one that I was the most excited about, hence buying it during the Sephora sale. I only have the glow version because somebody was, you know, selling it on Reddit for a pretty steep discount. I got it in the shade N80, which I'm pretty sure that was a mistake. I meant to get 95, but I just blanked and threw N80 into my cart, so that was definitely not what I was supposed to do, because as a matte foundation, it's going to be pretty apparent that this is a little bit too light for me. And like the other foundation, it does have a scent that it's definitely a scent I can smell in the Givenchy powder. So it definitely, I guess, is a Givenchy scent because it smells the same as the powder. However, it's really not strong. It goes away really quickly, which is why I don't mind. So you can see towards the outer perimeter, there's much less foundation to almost no foundation, but you can definitely see that this foundation is too light for me, so I'm debating exchanging this. I also was thinking if I do keep this shade, it definitely doesn't make for a bad mixer either, like to mattify my other foundations and to lighten them, so I don't know. Mistakes were made. I mean, compared to my neck, it's not so bad. So you can see it's kind of a luminous natural finish. It's not as matte as it seems, but it's definitely much less dewy than the Skin Caring Glow foundation, and the consistency of it is much less runny, much less serum-y, and it feels a little bit thicker. I'm using my JX Triple Concealer, and I'm gonna finish covering up these bags. I had to cover a couple shifts over the weekend, so I am excessively tired. Okay, so you can see how much better covered the bags are now, and I didn't really feel like I had to put on that much concealer this time, so you can kind of see there that's pretty nice. I'm now gonna do my contour, and you guys, really, I don't use this word lightly. I am obsessed with the Charlotte Tilbury contour wand because I think it's like the greatest thing ever, and like I said, I'm mildly obsessed with it, so yeah. And I'm just using this IT Cosmetics brush to blend it out. I didn't even really actually like I didn't squeeze the tube for this. I was just using leftover product still on the applicator, so that's why I'm going in and blending it now, because I don't want it to dry. It'll dry a little bit quicker because I just was using leftover product on the applicator from the last time I used it. Just that perfect in between bronze contour, so it just does both for me. So pretty. I can't get enough of this. It feels like there's not much product in here is the only thing. Like I'm squeezing, like how fast am I gonna go through this? But you can see how it looks like I put on a lot, but then once I work it out, it's like, oh, it just blends so easily. Like even a makeup beginner could blend this out, and it doesn't disturb the foundation underneath. I've used this on top of dewy foundations, I've used this on top of matte foundations, and I never have had a problem. I used this before I powder, but I wonder if it would work fine on top of powder too. I can't get enough of how good this is. I'm going to use my Pat McGrath under eye powder, and this is going to set my under eyes. I don't know what kind of blush I want to use yet, so I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. I'm just going to use this powder just to make sure my concealer doesn't budge. Now everything is a little bit more matte today, so I'm really just using the smallest bit necessary to set the concealer, and then I'm just going to throw a little bit on my nose and my forehead, and then just a little bit kind of on the inner part of my face. I'm thinking I might use a Pat McGrath quad today just for old time's sake, because I mentioned how I've collected the Divinity quads, or the Luxe quads, not the Blitz ones, the Luxe ones, but I've actually only shown a fraction of the ones I have on camera. I recently finally finished my collection. Voyeuristic Vixen was the hardest to track down online, but I finally found someone selling it, and so I bought it. You know, for all that effort that I put into acquiring them all, I definitely should talk about them at least once. And then I'm gonna let that set, and between then and now I'm going to work on my eyebrows. So I'm just using the Morphe Micro Brow Pencil. I'm almost through with this. I have barely any product left, and I'll be so glad for this to finally be finished because I really don't actually like it that much. Urban Decay Brow Blade to do the hair-like strokes. Brows are on. So let me just quickly decide what I want to do. So I zoomed you guys in a little bit, and I think what I'm going to use today is I'm going to use Risque Rose This is from the Celestial Divinity collection, and it looks like this. This just kind of really stood out to me as kind of the most exciting for me today because I'm not really feeling the boring mood. Now, as you can see, the palette shows signs of being swatched and used because I procured this off the used makeup market, so it looks a little bit ratty, but at the time that I was searching around, these had become a little bit difficult to find, so but that's all right. Yeah, I just think this will be a lot of fun. I'm thinking I can do like a bright pink with like the dark brown to deepen it up, throw some shimmers on there. It'll be a fun time. This is definitely kind of the least cohesive because it definitely feels like if I have these two shades, where the heck is a peachy shimmer supposed to fit in? So like it definitely feels incoherent. I'm going to start off with the pink. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm going to start off with the silver shimmer because I find mattes, so if I put shimmers on top of mattes, they sometimes don't stick. So I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into the shimmer that I want to be the key point of the look. It's really pretty. It has like other shades in it besides just the silver. Like it kind of shifts pink from certain angles, so it's a pretty fun shade. And as I've said before, I honestly prefer her normal metallic formulas over her fancy ones. I just think they're really pretty. Focusing it mostly on the inner part of the eyelid, I'm just really focusing on pressing it. Some of her shimmers like this one feel a little bit chunkier and others feel more smooth. So generally speaking, if her shimmers are super shiny, they're gonna also be a little bit on the more textured side, which I find is the case for most shimmers. So if that's the case, just kind of be prepared for some fallout and handle it accordingly. But as you can see, it's a silver pinky gold shade. It is really pretty, definitely pretty unique, honestly. And then I'm just gonna put the excess on this eyelid since I still have some product on my finger. And then I'm gonna switch to my other finger. It might pick up on the mic. Gates is snoring again. It happens a lot just because one of his favorite sleeping spots is right next to where I have my filming station, which is why I like sometimes think about if I should move my filming setup or not, but honestly, I can't think of anybody who would care enough for me to move it. And from what I gather, most of you really don't care or can't even hear it anyways, so. But just in case you were wondering what that rumbling sound was, he's an impressive snorer. Honestly, his snores are pretty impressive. He snores loud enough that if I had to fall asleep in the same room as him, he would keep me up because I'm very sensitive to the sound of snoring. I definitely do think this would look better over like glitter glue or her eye wand or, you know, wet brush, whatever, but I'm lazy. I have no other explanation for myself. Alright, and then I'm gonna take this Precision Firm blender from Sigma and I'm going to go into the pink shade and I'm going to start working that into where I want it. Is like above this shimmer. So I'm just gonna work it there and I'm just doing it really slowly. I definitely am looking into getting more teeny tiny blending brushes because I love my Hakuhodo one so much. Ideally, I was hoping that next month, before their prices go up, I could buy another couple of the Hakuhodo baby blenders, but we'll see how my budget's doing. The only thing I really know for sure I want is going to be that Cleona Dragon Fruit collection, but beyond that, I'm really going to have to like stay strong and disciplined and just think about the Hakuhodo brushes I'll be able to buy if I don't buy anything else. Now I'm just going to start working that out. And I'm gonna finish off with the dark brown, so don't worry. If this matte seems really sheer and unpigmented, bear in mind I'm using very little of it, so it's not that this matte sucks, it's that I'm just building it up very, very slowly and I don't really need it looking at full intensity yet. And now I'm just gonna start packing it a little bit more. And I'm not using like a flat brush for this, so it's still not gonna be super intense looking, but that's fine. I don't need it to be completely like hot pink for this look. And now I'm going to take another small brush. So I'm going to take this tiny one from Eco Tools and I'm just going to use that to really make sure that my top edges are blended. I've definitely come to realize after using my Hakuhodo brushes that the shape of the brush matters, and me thinking I was bad at eyeshadow, it really truly could have just boiled down to something as simple as I just hadn't found the right eyeshadow brushes for my eye shape. And now that I have some favorite ones from Hakuhodo that I use a lot, my eyeshadow just suddenly looks 10 times better. My eye shape is, you know, pretty unconventional, so I guess I shouldn't have been too surprised. So you can see that that's really building up nicely. I'm definitely really liking where this is going. So I'm going to go into the dark brown now. This shade is a little bit powdery, and you can see I'm just gonna pack that on the outer corner. It's a really nice brown, just nice, neutral, no frills, chocolate brown. So I'm just laying it down. I'm gonna blend it out with a different brush because I don't want this eyeshadow going everywhere. And then I'm just going to put a little bit here. A little bit of fallout, but it's nothing disastrous. So I'm just gonna take a Luxe brush. I don't find the Luxe brush to be good for laying down pigment because the brushes are so soft, they don't really lay down enough pigment, but they're really great for just blending over your previously laid down eyeshadow. Like, just take it as a clean brush and then blend out your eyeshadow. Because it's so soft that it's not gonna make your eyeshadow blow out everywhere as you sweep back and forth. It just kind of barely touches up the edges for you. So you can see it kind of went further out on this eye than on this eye, so I'm now just going to take a very teeny weeny brush and I'm going to use a smaller dense brush so that I can just kind of put it where I need it to be to make it more symmetrical. So this time I'm using a Lunar Beauty brush, which I really like. So now you can see it looks a little bit more symmetrical. I'm just really feeling like I'm slowly beginning to really discover the eyeshadow workflow that I like the best, and it makes me really excited. Like, I'm finally truly really figuring out and honing in on the brushes that I like, and so I'm just gonna get duplicates of them. Alright, so now I really want to make sure that this silver shade really just gets amped up some more. I'm going to take a brush and I'm gonna wet it. So I just sprayed a BH brush and now I'm just going to use this brush to make sure that I really pack on the intensity, and I'm gonna go over any patchy areas. You can see how much more intense that looks now with a wet brush. Just be very careful as you work. You don't want to generate too much fallout. Of course, if you do your eyes first, it's not a problem, but I'm just stuck in my old ways. To fill in the lower lash line, I'm gonna take that peachy shimmer. So I just, I frequently have been finding that my looks sometimes can be a little bit too busy if I have like the same shimmer on the upper and lower lash line. This one is a little bit more on the satin side, and it's also a lot less textured. You can really see the difference as I apply it. You can see the difference between the two finishes. So this shimmer is definitely going to be a lot more kind of relaxed and subdued versus the other one being more of a statement shade. And it's always really cool that Pat McGrath can put so many different textures even into just a quad. It's definitely a lot of fun. And then just so that the two lash lines are not completely different, I'm just going to take a pinch right in the middle, just so that there's just a little bit of cohesion and just to highlight the middle, but I'm not going to use too much. I like how it turned out. So I'm going to put on some lashes. I'm going to do that off camera. I'll be right back. Zoom back out. I put on Doe Morning Dew 2.0. You can see very wispy. They, especially with such a heavy eyeshadow look, are kind of hard to see, but at the same time, I definitely look really different with and without lashes. Just perks of having monolids. I also did put on some winged eyeliner just to kind of lengthen my eyes a little bit. It's barely visible, and then of course I threw on some lower lash mascara. I'm gonna move on to the rest of the face. So I definitely feel like I really want to try this Sweet Cheeks blush from NYX. I actually got this a really long time ago, but I just haven't worn a makeup look where I felt like it was worth wearing this. I feel like it's a little bit warm, but at the same time I just don't want to wait any longer, so I'm just gonna try it. I've heard it's kind of pigmented, so I'm just gonna start off with that much. When I swatched it on my hand, I really liked how it looked. Like, it was matte and it wasn't taking off my foundation. It didn't seem like the kind of blush to do that, so I'm just using a brush to buff it out. It definitely does dry down pretty quickly, but as you can see, I'm able to work it into a really pretty finish. Now, as you can see, I put on so little, so you definitely don't need very much with this. I got the bright orange one too, so I'll use that when I have a look for that. Ooh, that's really pretty. Okay, I really like this. I could even see this working as a liquid eyeshadow. I kind of wish more blushes came in tubes. I feel like these kinds of blushes that come in this formula where you have to like unscrew the whole thing, or if it comes in like a pot or something, I feel like those dry out faster compared to tubes. When it's in a tube, it really feels like it just never dries out. You can see it gives such a nice flush. It's definitely pretty intense, but matte, sets down. It feels like it even set down the skin beneath it. It's so matte. So this is definitely a liquid blush I could totally recommend. It totally reminds me of the 3CE Velvet ones, but of course the shade range is much more extensive and the colors are a lot more punchy. So yeah, I like this a lot. Actually, it matches pretty well once I blend it out. Okay, and I could totally see it being layered if you wanted it to be even more punchy, so yeah, I'm really happy with that. Okay, I'm gonna use highlighter, and I'm gonna use the highlighter also on my inner corners. And I think I have the perfect one. I'm going to use the highlighter from Flower Nose in Aria. It's white with a slight blue shift, so this should work really well. I'm going to use a Sigma pencil brush, and I'm just gonna push this on the inner corner. I really need more of these. I'm so mad that I never, I just wasn't in the know when Cupid was released, so of course I missed it. That's a shade I would have loved to have. And then I'm just gonna kind of just draw it up a little bit. That is just so pretty. And now I'm gonna use my finger and I'm gonna tap a little bit of it kind of on my brow area. Definitely a really favorite place of mine to put highlighter. And then I'm going to put some on my nose just to add some shine, and also just kind of to elevate my nose bridge. So that's gonna be that for Aria. I don't really like to use this on my cheeks. It's definitely a little bit too much, too light. But for my cheeks, I want to get my money's worth out of this. I'm going to use the Pillow Talk highlighter. It's the shade Romance Light. I'm like high-key happy that the one time I impulse buy a Charlotte Tilbury product, it's like the good one that everybody thinks is amazing, because I would have been so mad if I bought something that sucked. So I'm just gonna mix the white shade and the pink shade for my blush topper, but it's like actually super pretty. And I don't really think it emphasizes my texture like at all. Like, this is maybe $7 or $8 more expensive than the M Cosmetics one, and it is way more. It's way better. It's like way more than just $7 or $8 better. The M Cosmetics one for me is really just not worth it. And the outer packaging has like that crystal effect, really pretty. Okay, so that's gonna be everything on. I just need to put on the lips and then we can be done. I saw a comment saying that the longer videos didn't really bother them much, so I definitely appreciate your feedback. So I feel like splitting the previous video into two was kind of inconvenient for you guys, and the editing definitely was less cohesive. So I think from now on, if the video gets long, it'll just get long, because like I always try my best to cut out all of my irrelevant banter, and if I'm talking in depth about product details, I really just want to leave that in because I feel like that's helpful to some people, I would hope. So I'm using Buxom Incognito. Again, this is not really something you can find these days. I think I may be starting to develop a cold sore. If I wake up tomorrow with tingly lips, I'm gonna be kind of upset. My lips are a little bit dry. I've been trying to rehydrate them so I can use more fun shades more often, but for the time being, my lips are dry. So I haven't shown this off yet, but I'm gonna use the Lip Fetish Divinal Lip Shine. I got this during the Glitch sale. I really want the Bridgerton lipsticks just for the bows, but that money just never came through, so hopefully they'll still be in stock when I finally have the money for it, or maybe she'll glitch again, who knows. But I got the shade Temptress. I got a nudie shade for my mom, but I really wanted to get this pinky red shade for me, and I think this actually will match perfectly. This is my first time using it, so I've never used this before. Oh, it's surprisingly MLBB. It's a lot thinner than the YSL Balm formula, which is has a lot more substance to it. It reminds me more of the Peri Para Ink Serum Sticks. Has more of a balmy finish. So it's actually not as pink as it looked online. It's a little bit more red and a little bit more like just an MLBB shade, but more intense. I still really like it. So that's gonna be Temptress. Actually, it's really pretty. I really want to try this. I really want to try Bitchcraft from Lunar Beauty. I've not actually used this yet. I got it during his like $10 gloss glitch sale. I'm just gonna top these off, because this gloss is a little bit more pink, so I just wanted my lips to look a little bit more pink. And his glosses seriously are kind of sort of insane because they're not sticky at all. Like literally they're not. I actually really liked his gloss formula. It's like kind of insane how he manages to pull off a gloss formula that's this shiny but like literally not sticky. And it has some sparkles in it too. So that's what Bitchcraft looks like on top of this shade. That kind of pinkified it a little bit. So this is the finished look. I love how the eyes turned out. I think they look really great, and the lips turned out really well. The NYX blush, I'm so glad I finally got to like have a chance to use it on camera with a look. I think the NYX blush formula has been super slept on. I've really not seen anyone talk about it, and I'm like, excuse me? You guys should totally try it. Matte liquid blush, yes please. Dewy liquid blush, no thank you. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this look, just kind of a fun get ready with me using some older products. I really want to focus on getting through my older products for like at the very least the next few months, because lordy, I have a lot and I just really want to make sure I get through it. I have all these products that I feel like really deserve their time to shine. I have some indie products I never showed, like I got Give Me Glow Vintage Rose and I haven't filmed with it yet. I have like Lorac Fairy Tale Forest and I never filmed with it. So I definitely have some older products I feel deserve that chance to be shown off, and you know, I'm really hoping that me filming with those more often will kind of help distract me from all the new things that I keep my inner gremlin, my makeup gremlin wants. But in the meantime, I hope you guys enjoyed this look, and yeah, if I hit a rut and I lose my momentum, I start to get really depressed, I start to kind of ruminate a lot, I start kind of really overthinking things like my art and my career and like being a failure, and I just really start falling back into old thought habits, automatic thought habits. So filming is one way for me to really break through that cycle, distract myself. It really helps me let the thoughts just pass through my head, so when the thought pops into my head, instead of ruminating on it, I just kind of am like, oh, in one ear and out the other, which is what I need, which is what I'm trying to work on, is that these negative thoughts, instead of making a habit of looping them, I just let them come in and leave. And filming really helps with that, so I'm hoping to film a lot more, I'm hoping to upload a lot more, and in the process it makes me feel a lot better too. So thanks for sticking around, I'll see you guys in the next video, and have a good one. Bye bye!